You know that feeling when you walk into a room that you wanted to be in, you worked so hard to get there, and then instead of feeling proud, you actually start to feel a little bit panicked, like someone's about to figure out that you don't actually belong there. And that's imposter syndrome. If you've ever felt that way in an interview, in a meeting, maybe a leadership meeting, or even walking into a networking conversation or your new job, today's episode is going to change the way you see it. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings Podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. And what sparked me talking about this today is I had worked through my share of imposter syndrome throughout my career. But the interesting thing is, it's still coming up. And as soon as I caught it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is coming up for me, my clients. I'm getting questions about it. This is something that I need to break down on the podcast. So here we are. So I just got back recently from speaking at the HR Future Fest, which is literally the best conference I've ever been to. And I had the opportunity to also bring 9 of my clients with me, which was incredible. And seriously, just the energy of the event, the people, the conversations, the inspiration, and also it was just so stunning. It was beautiful. I won't go on and on, but it was incredible. And if you weren't there, you can check out some of my pictures on Instagram at Career Coach Irina as well. And this was such a full circle moment, just meeting my clients in person as well and being on stage and meeting so many of you that are listening to the podcast. It was incredible. And actually the client that I'm referring to, one of them, her name is Kayla. She landed 2 jobs in 30 days inside of my signature program, HR Star. And she has so many insights to share as well. She's coming on the pod, so make sure you listen to next week's episode as well. But today, we're not talking about that story. We're talking about imposter syndrome. So the interesting thing is, this speaking event was like 24 hours after I got off a plane from Banff and Lake Louise, which was an incredible trip, by the way. And I remember like on the ride home in the car, my husband like asking how my week is going to be. And we're talking about the week ahead. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have this speaking thing at like a conference. There's going to be like 500 people there. And he's like, whoa, that's like a really big deal. What are you going to talk about? I'm like, actually, I haven't scripted it yet. Like I haven't really thought about it yet, but super excited to do it. And I remember him, and he's an incredible speaker. He looked at me like I was sort of nuts because this is so unlike me. And that made me think like, okay, I definitely kicked imposter syndrome. I feel comfortable. I mean, I'm speaking all of the time. And I'm like, of course, I could do it on stage as well without like completely freaking out about it. So got back. I planned kind of the speaking notes. I met with the person that I was also going to be speaking with, and we planned out like high level what we would talk about. And then when I got on stage, I, didn't have notes. We just kind of rolled with it and it was incredible. And I got so much great feedback. And the interesting thing about this is that as I sat in the chair, like waiting to speak. So picture this, there's like a conference, there's 500 people sitting in the audience. There's a beautiful stage, like a stunning, stunning stage with like a huge glass ceiling. What a beautiful space, beautiful room. Definitely the nicest stage I've ever spoken on. And I am sitting in the front row, like waiting because I was second to speak. And ahead of me is a director from Google. And I'm just sitting there and I just start smiling, like borderline laughing because my imposter syndrome kicked in at that moment. And I'm like, wow, am I ready for this? And it's so intimidating that like Google is on stage and I'm on the main stage. There were other stages like scattered throughout the conference in tents outside, like beautiful, those huge, beautiful wedding tents, and other mini stages kind of like on the sides. And I'm like, hold on. Not only am I second, like right after headlining, this is before everyone kind of breaks out into different rooms. It's like I have the full audience's attention and I'm following someone from Google. Right. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So that was me realizing that imposter syndrome still comes up with me all the time. And it might be coming up for you too, but you might not realize that it is because what it actually sounds like is a rational thought, right? So when I had this thought, I'm like, of course it's rational. Like I didn't prepare that much. Should I have prepared more? Oh my goodness. Why did they choose me? Do I deserve to be here right now? Am I really going after Google? What is happening? Right. So I have all of these thoughts where I'm questioning if I deserve to be there inside when everyone else is looking at me like, you are meant to be here, right? And I got approached for this opportunity. And then afterwards, I got such incredible feedback as well. And the session went so well. It's just so interesting how our brain will convince us that we should question these types of things when they happen to us, that we feel undeserving of them. And the interesting part, when I really, really realized that this was imposter syndrome kicking in yet again, I had one of my clients, Vanessa, approach me afterwards and we were waiting for like this gelato cart and we got characters done and drawings of us done, which was super fun at the conference. Just beautiful day overall. And she's like, we're talking about comfort of speaking. She actually had an interview that day as well that she was preparing for. We were talking about the confidence to speak. And I shared with her that I was the least confident speaker ever. And she was shocked to hear this. I'm like, oh, I should share this on the podcast as well. But in high school, like I think my teachers would completely fall out of their chairs if they saw me now, because I remember I used to get so nervous when we had to present. I would get like physically sick. I literally would try to get a doctor's note to get out of presenting. Like I'm serious. I went to my doctor and I remember asking for a note and I couldn't really get one. And I'm like, okay, is there something else you could do? And I was trying to really get out of it. And I really thought that I was unable physically to present. I just thought I'm not the type of person that's confident on stage. And it's so interesting that now I find it so natural and there has been so much growth that has come out of being afraid and doing it anyway. Right? So fast forward to this conference where it's like I'm standing on a massive stage, no notes, delivering a 30-minute talk with confidence and flow, and then getting incredible feedback. The next day, I actually got approached to go to another HR conference that's happening later this year as well. And there were iterations. So in high school, I was just completely terrified. I would like black out. I remember being asked to go up and present, but I don't actually remember presenting. Then in university, it got better. I did present with so much practice though. Like I would practice over and over and over and over and like over prepare. And that perfectionist in me would come out. In my first HR role, I also remember the progression. I had to present to new hires in their onboarding. I had to present their benefit information. And I didn't know benefits really well, but I had to talk about things I had no idea about, like saving for your retirement. So picture me at like 25 and talking about retirement, which I knew nothing about. I mean, it's a topic that I still don't know well, but there are different types of like pension plans. And I had to explain it to employees that had questions in a group. And I remember I went into a room to practice presenting this benefit information. I spent hours. And then when I got out and I was truly like, I was going over the script, like standing in front of the room with my presentation, going over the script over and over and over and over again. And I remember later, my manager was like, Irina, like you're going to grow and you're going to need to present a lot more and you're going to have less and less time to present. So it's like she challenged me to spend less time preparing for the next time. And I thought, how rude of her, right? But really, that is such a good key because it's true. You're going to need to present the higher you go in organizations. It's going to need to happen in so many types of environments. And I'm so glad that I have pushed myself to this point. Like at this point, I have spoken in front of thousands of people. And I never imagined that when I was in elementary school and high school. I mean, in elementary school, I was just learning to speak English. I was so not confident about that. So thinking back, I wanted to share some tips on what imposter syndrome does and if it shows up for you. We're breaking down what it really means, how to build real confidence that doesn't rely on like feeling ready or over preparing like I did. Confidence doesn't come before the moment. It actually comes from the moment. And I'll break down what I mean by that. So whether you're preparing for an interview, showing up to a networking call, or just saying yes to something that completely terrifies you, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Okay, so imposter syndrome isn't proof that you don't belong. It's actually proof that you're growing. So you are pushing yourself out of your comfortable little box, right? So of course, you may not be comfortable presenting to a large audience if you haven't done it before. And that's completely natural. Like if you had thought, yep, no problem, I can do that. I've never done that before. That'd be a little bit weird, right? So this is your brain's way of keeping you safe. This is a new territory for you and there's a potential threat, right? So your brain says, let's pull back. And confidence doesn't come from feeling ready and then doing it. Confidence actually comes from doing it anyway, being afraid and doing it anyway. So when I stepped on stage at Future Fest, like I said, I was laughing minutes before, just thinking this is completely absurd. And I can't believe they have me here. And like, who put me on the main stage right after Google? Like I had so many thoughts and did it anyway. I went up on the stage anyway and did my very best. And it turned out amazing. And now I'm so confident. I would love to speak on stages that are 10 times bigger, right? And it's not that I was confident prior. It's that that experience built my confidence because I was like, oh, wow, I could do this, right? So it's like going into an interview, for example, for a job that you've never had before. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, why did they call me? Do they know I don't have experience in XYZ? And you're questioning yourself. I've been there as well. And then you get off that interview and it goes super well. And you're like, oh, okay. And you're feeling more confident. You're like, I could do it, right? So it's like interviewing, speaking on stage, saying yes to a podcast. I remember the first podcast I did, it was with a friend of mine, Katrina DeAngelis. I'd love to have her on this podcast as well. She's a leadership coach. And I went on her podcast. I was terrified, like terrified. And that wasn't even that long ago. That was a couple years back. And now to think I host this weekly without, any hesitation or thought and just so much comfort, like I'm speaking to a friend, is growth from the reps and practicing. Okay. Now for you, this could be also like applying for a leadership role, expressing to your leader that you're ready for the next challenge and worried that they might be like, are you kidding? No, you are not, right? The nerves don't mean to stop. They actually mean this matters. Do this. This will help you grow. So I have another quick story. Another client reached out right after this conference, interestingly enough, I have a private members HR Star group where it's for networking and asking questions between sessions and between coaching. And one of the members actually just posted in there for everyone's thoughts. She's like, I was approached to come on an HR podcast and she's a leader. And she's like, I'm not sure I should do it. I feel like nervous. And she was really vulnerable about it. And like, everyone's like, do it, do it, do it. And then others were sharing like, I was uncomfortable with this and I did it and it landed me an opportunity. And I responded as well saying, do it anyway. This is what's going to make you feel more confident as a leader. It will even help you feel more confident speaking in interviews. And what she said was like, I'm not a good speaker. And I said, there are levels. These are just reps. You're not great at things that you haven't done before, right? You get good through practice. You don't get better before you start. You get better because you start, right? So if you want to feel more confident in interviews, if you want to be seen as a leader, if you want people to trust your opinions, you're going to have to use your voice, even when it might be a little bit shaky. The first podcast that I went on, I actually cried. My voice was super shaky. I literally cried because I was sharing a really emotional story. And, now sharing that same story is very, very different for me because I've had the practice. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing what actually helped me and what helps my clients as well as we go through, especially landing your next opportunities in interviewing, and things that really help you in order to combat that imposter syndrome and make sure that you are crushing it and getting new skills along the way. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing 3 tips here that really, really help me. So I have had many times where I was going into an interview where I felt like I don't belong there. And I felt like, why did they pick me? I'm not really sure. And these are the things that have helped me and they help my clients as well. So let's dive in. Okay. Number 1, practicing out loud, not in your head. So I used to think I was practicing when I would just like jot some notes down and then hope that it came out the right way. But what actually happens if you haven't practiced out loud and you're nervous, the nerves kick in those moments where we have that imposter syndrome because your brain is telling you those stories that you're not ready yet, you're not ready yet. And then when the words come out, they could sound jumbled. And I'll tell you, there was a time in my own experience where I was internally expressing interest for a director level role and the next level role internally. And I wasn't ready at all for an interview. I will just say I wasn't even intending on interviewing, but I had my leader just question like, why are you ready for that role? Or why would you be a good fit for it? And it made me so nervous. I literally forgot everything about why I would be a good fit, where I was totally ready for the role. I said the dumbest things. I literally was like, well, I got my degree in HR now. Like it was completely terrible, like so embarrassing. Needless to say, that opportunity was not mine, even though I was ready for it, but I wasn't ready. So practicing out loud instead of just having the points in your head is going to help you sound so much more confident. So rehearse your interview answers and your pitch and your story out loud, even though you don't know what the questions are yet. Practice saying these things out loud so that when you're asked similar questions, it sounds like there's a flow to it. You're not thinking, you're not in your head, because when you're trying to think on the spot while your brain is saying, you're not ready, you don't deserve this, it's not going to go very well, right? Also, the next tip I would say is to actually identify what those thoughts are. And this is your homework for today as well. You want to be able to think through where could imposter syndrome be coming up for you that you might not even realize. Because, for example, I'm someone who's very reflective. But if I didn't reflect on that moment, sitting in front of the stage, waiting to go while Google is speaking, I would have thought that that's truth. Like they should have never invited me, right? I could have taken that as truth. Now reflecting back, I'm like, okay, that's silly. I definitely deserve to be there and it went well. Now I'm invited back. But if I didn't question that, I would think something is wrong here. I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve this. Here is a journal prompt for you. And I want you to do this when you're not driving. You can write this down in your phone. I want you to think about deeply what's something that you're avoiding right now because you feel like you're not ready yet. Because what I know for sure is that you are more ready than you know. So I want you to write that down, and that will help you take the next small step of, okay, well, you realize that this could just be imposter syndrome, and then you can take action accordingly. Okay, so that would be number 2. So number 1, practicing out loud definitely helps you feel more confident, step into your confidence before the event. And the second would be to actually know what those triggers are. Where are you feeling like these are rational thoughts, but they could actually be imposter syndrome, which again are just the thoughts from your brain trying to keep you safe from those new experiences. Okay. Third, once you know what those experiences are, you've journaled, you're like, okay, I might be holding myself back from applying for that job, right? I speak to people every day that are like, in this market, I am only going to apply for this level. I'm not going to apply for the next level, for that manager level, for that VP level, because they think it's going to be too hard, but that's just fear trying to keep you safe. So make examples where you might be holding yourself back. Even if you just have one, that is an incredible place to start because then you can take action from there once you have the clarity. Okay, third, get into the room. So my example of the client asking if she should go on that podcast, even though she doesn't want to, she doesn't feel like she's a good speaker, she doesn't want to sound silly, say yes. You get a new project at work that you think is scary, say yes. You land that interview, of course, say yes. When you get invited to a podcast, take the opportunity that scares you. When it comes up, even to present at work, even putting up your hand in a leadership meeting where your mind might be telling you that's a stupid question, be quiet. Like, be quiet. Don't ask that. People might think you're dumb, right? So if you end up reflecting in step 2 and thinking, okay, I don't speak up enough in leadership meetings, amazing. You've identified that. Well, what's the next action? Get in the room, say yes, put your hand up, ask the question, do what scares you. Okay. Catching the thought. So this reflection in step 2 is also going to help your brain understand that that might not be the truth. So at Future Fest, I had the thought, I had imposter syndrome kick in. And I remember thinking, why did I get invited? Why do I deserve to be there? But I checked myself. I'm like, this is a voice and it's not the truth. And doing that, reflecting on that, this will help you do that in all future situations as well, where you'll know, okay, this is just imposter syndrome. Because what I hate seeing the very most is people actually just accepting those thoughts as truth. And they're thinking, well, I won't apply. I won't put my hand up. I won't say yes to the podcast because I'm not a great speaker. I just won't do that. But you get good from the practice. So get in the room and practice and catch the thought and do the reflection because it will build a habit for you. Okay. So remember, if imposter syndrome isn't showing up for you, it doesn't mean stop. It just means you're stepping into that next bigger version of you than before. And that is amazing. That is you evolving. As people, we need to evolve to the next level. That is our purpose. That is what's going to help you feel like you're developing and growing and getting to the next level, not only in your career, but as a person. And I love reflecting back on things that have changed. So right now, as I tell you this story, I am so proud that in high school, I was not able to present. In elementary school, I couldn't even speak English. And then now I'm being invited to these large stages and I love seeing the difference along the way. So even if it's a smaller milestone, like you were afraid to put your hand up, but you actually did, and you asked the question, that is going to build confidence. So I want you to also reflect on times that you didn't know how to do the thing, you did it anyway, and now it comes naturally to you. Think about driving a car, right? You don't know how to drive a car, and you probably, when you turned 16, went out and got into a fender bender. I drove into a tree because I didn't know how to drive in the winter. No one taught me that. So when I was turning, I ended up pushing on my brakes when I wanted to stop, but there was ice. I drove into the tree. And then that's how I learned. I was like, okay, well, I guess you're not supposed to brake hard over ice. I didn't know that before. The reps haven't happened and it's never happened since because I learned from it. So think of the growth. Like I think of my son. And there was one day he was like 3, almost turning 4, and he got a big bike and we were trying to take off the training wheels and he was so afraid and he didn't think he could do it. And his brain was keeping him safe. And he kept saying, no, keep them on, keep them on. But then literally an hour later, he didn't even know. He thought, so we took off the wheels and my husband was holding his seat in the back. And he thought my husband was still holding him to balance and that he needed us to hold him. But we could see he didn't. And he thought we were holding on and we completely weren't. And he was just crushing it. He was riding his bike perfectly within an hour. And we looked at each other. We're like, oh my goodness, he did it. And it was like such a proud moment. But think of those times where you didn't know how to do something, you did it anyway, and you are now proud looking back because whatever it is that you identify that is an area where you may be holding yourself back or you don't feel ready or that you might be avoiding, that's exactly the thing that can help you grow into your next level. So please, please, please do it. So don't forget your homework. You have a journal prompt where you are reflecting on what you are avoiding because you don't feel ready yet. And I want you to write that down and then I want you to follow it up with taking an action. And if this episode hit home with you, please share it with a friend who needs the reminder. I really love when you guys are sharing the podcast on social media and tagging me in it. I love that. And also leave a review on Apple because that helps me to spread the message to others that want to hear it. And when you do that, please take a screenshot, send it my way. And I always do a contest every single month for a giveaway for winning a coaching session with me as well. So please leave a review, tag me in it, send it my way. And I would love to meet with you, connect with you. Thank you for that. And also to enter you into the contest. So you got this. And I will see you next week where we're going to break down The two offer strategy that you can also apply to land your next opportunity, and you won't want to miss it. Chat soon. Bye. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.